Hi everyone, my name is Jafar Azam. I am a developer relations at Composable Finance. So this workshop won't be as technical as the previous one, but I'm just going to give like an overview of to what Composable is, what we're doing, and how we're connecting to Cosmos. So before I start, I'd just like to thank Rockaway and the team for giving us an opportunity to speak. Amazing conference as always. Last year was great, this year was great too. So for those of you who don't know what Composable is or what we're doing, we're actually in the Polkadot ecosystem. So you might be thinking, what are these agents doing in the Cosmos space? But yeah, I'll get into that. Composable is focused on building cross-chain infrastructure and cross-chain messaging. So similar to Polymer DAO, they're also extending IBC everywhere. We're also extending IBC everywhere, but our focus is in different areas. So as you can see, the end goal is to basically allow users to interact with money, anywhere, on any chain. So how we're doing this is we're extending IBC to other ecosystems, and we're also building a cross-chain messaging protocol on top of IBC. So this will be at the application layer, which I'll get into in a bit more detail. So essentially, why do we need IBC everywhere? Okay, so in the space right now, there's like hundreds of blockchains, right? And there's bridges connecting them. Most of them, nearly all of them are centralized. The only trust minimized bridges, or trustless bridges, as we like to say, is IBC and XCM within the Polkadot ecosystem. So in Polkadot, you have XCM, but this is only used within parachains. And to actually bridge to other ecosystems, it would have to be via a centralized manner. So there's like bridges like Wormhole, Axelar, and Layer 0. So the reason why we're sort of taking IBC everywhere is because we believe it's the most trust minimized solution. And to actually get institutions, to actually get everyone involved in cross-chain activity, we need it to be in a secure manner. So there's also a lack of composability. So this is like the XCVM, which I'll get into in a bit more detail. This is basically allowing users to do anything on any chain. So why did we choose IBC? Essentially, liquidity is one thing. So flowing liquidity between different blockchains, that's like one of the main reasons for bridges out there. It's definitely a core implication for a lot of DeFi activities. Onboarding different users, so users from .sama. So .sama is like Polkadot and Kusama mixed together, if you guys didn't know. So onboarding users from .sama to the Cosmos. So like we're like the real gateway to Cosmos. And then also bringing users from Cosmos to .sama as well. And then speed and security, actually app chains. So right now there's like this whole hundreds of app chains coming out, and most of them are being built with IBC in mind. This is something Polymer are working on as well. But our focus is more on like standalone L1 chains as well. So in an ideal world, we want every blockchain to be communicating via IBC, and all these rollups coming out with IBC in mind, it will just allow us to natively connect with them in a trustless manner. And then speed and security, the main reason why we are choosing IBC is simply for security. So in actuality, Composable was building an EVM solution last year, and as we were building the Cosmos connection as well simultaneously, we realized like, why would we mix a centralized bridge with a decentralized bridge? And that would just like mix assets. It's kind of like how it is in the Cosmos now. You have like hundreds of millions, but like they're sort of pegged to Axelar. So the trust security needs to be improved, and we believe taking IBC everywhere is the solution to that. So this is sort of an overview of our work. You have Cosmos chains here, so natively integrated with IBC. Composable and Picasso. So Picasso is our Kusama parachain. Composable is our Polkadot parachain. It's sort of in the middle and acts as like an IBC hub. So in the Polkadot and Kusama side, we have 80 blockchains that it would be connected to. So opening up doors to new functionality and more innovation. We're also working on extending IBC to near protocol. This was something that we saw was an easier effort than other blockchains. So now that we have a non-Cosmos working IBC stack, we can extend it to other ecosystems. And as you can see, the roadmap, it's in no particular order. But Polygon, Ethereum, Aptos, ZK Sync, all of these chains we believe are light client compatible, which means we can connect to them via IBC. So we're working on Ethereum 2.0. Also, this is sort of like what we're working on. So KSM.transfers are live. So Kusama and Polkadot have never had a bridge like before, previously. This is something the Parity team has been working on for quite a while, but we've already done it with IBC. So you can now bridge between Polkadot and Kusama via IBC, and it's live right now. I'll go into that in a bit more detail. So how we're connecting to Cosmos, so we're actually in the third set of our testnet, and it's live right now. We're working with Notional DAO to sort of lead that effort. We're looking to go sort of into mainnet this month, actually. So keep an eye out on our socials, and yeah, definitely get involved. ETH and NEAR, as I mentioned, they're in research and development stages. I don't really want to go into much detail about how we're doing our Ethereum implementation, but we will release more information in the coming future. Yeah, so this is sort of IBC working right now in a completely different ecosystem. So if you guys are interested, you can head to our docs. You look at the guides. If you're not familiar with Polkadot wallets, interact with IBC. You can bridge between Kusama and Polkadot. You can just head to app.trusted.zone, and you can see how IBC is working in a completely different ecosystem. So this is sort of the landscape of Polkadot and Kusama right now. So Centauri is sort of what we call IBC beyond Cosmos. So anything that we're doing IBC related, because it's based on IBC bridging, we're naming it Centauri, and essentially connecting our parachain to connecting our Kusama parachain, Picasso, to our Polkadot parachain, Composable. We can now allow users and parachains from different ecosystems to basically bridge via IBC simply by spinning up channels. So this is something we're excited about. We launched this last month, and this is sort of the first application. So this is a DEX on our chain called Pablo. So if you head to app.pablo.finance, you can see this is like the liquidity pools we have available. We're planning to release more in the coming future, especially when IBC goes live to Cosmos and more parachains get integrated. So this right here, KSM dot, this is the first ever instance of a KSM dot liquidity pool on any decentralized exchange. So like, you might be surprised, like Kusama and Polkadot, you would think that they would be interconnected, but this is sort of the first time that it's happening. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. All you'd have to do is just bridge via IBC and LP into the pools. Those APRs are real. It might seem fake, but they're live for the next 7 weeks. So yeah, no more on that. How we're doing the Cosmos connection. So to break it down, on the left side we have Cosmos chains, and obviously the Cosmos SDK, they have native IBC module already, and then on the right side is sort of Kusama and our Picasso parachain. So Picasso will be the first chain that actually implements IBC to Cosmos. The way it works is we're actually spinning up a Tendermint chain to make this connection happen. So the reason is because if you see in the middle, we have the ICS 8 Azam client. So this is something new that we've worked with Strangelove Labs. And essentially our grandpa-like client, which is basically the consensus mechanism for Polkadot, is written in Cosmosm. So this is the first time you have a Cosmosm-like client. And to integrate with Cosmos SDK chains, they would need to upgrade to SDK version 0.47 and also IBC version 7. So one thing that the Polkadot ecosystem has that Cosmos doesn't is forkless upgrades. So unfortunately, to actually get Cosmos chains to upgrade to 0.47 so we can connect to them, it's not like a priority because it takes a lot of effort. Like it could take months. So what we've done is we've spun up a Tendermint-based chain. So this is what's in testnet right now. And this is already natively with the 0.47 upgrade. It would act like a sort of adapter between Picasso and Cosmos chains. So that would mean we literally just connect to one chain in the middle, which is the Cosmos Centauri chain is what we're calling it. And it's simply responsible for packet forwarding between Picasso and any Cosmos chain out there. So this is something that is in testnet, and we plan to go live with this month as well. Mainnet we're looking like launching mainnet this week actually. We have like over 100 validators on the testnet. And then on the Picasso side, we have, of course, Palette IBC, which is what we refer to as the non-Cosmos working IBC stack. So that has the Tendermint Lite client and IBC RS. So this is something that we have worked with Informal on getting set up. So we have our own IBC RS implementation, basically just IBC and Rust. And then one thing that's not shown here, which I should have, is the hyperspace relayer. So when IBC was built, everything that was built with intent. It was built with the intention that it's only connecting to Cosmos chains. So all the relay implementations, all the existing infrastructure was only built for Cosmos SDK chains. As you, like previously, Polymer went over how a relay is a problem with the Ethereum side. It's also what we had to do. So we worked with the Informal team on spinning up a non-Cosmos working relayer. So this is the first ever relay. It's called Hyperspace. And this will be connecting Picasso with any Cosmos chain out there. So Hermes hopefully adds support for non-Cosmos chains as well. But right now, Hyperspace is the only non-Cosmos working IBC layer. And that's what's connecting Kusama and Polkadot as well right now. So as I mentioned, a lot of things built with IBC was built specifically for Cosmos chains, right? So an explorer to actually show substrate chains, non-Cosmos chains, it's a lot of work. And this is just a sort of screenshot of what our explorer will look like. So we're working on building this explorer to show like a Polkadot chain, even beyond, like once we connect to ETH and NEAR, we'll have this explorer showing like the whole transaction visualization. So on one side, like the relayer connecting on the Picasso, and then here is on Osmosis as well. So you can see in real time the relayer sending the message, and if there's any failures, it picks up everything. So it provides sort of the user with all the information necessary. The reason why we're doing this is, of course, just to improve user experience. So like with cross-chain activity, there's always a lack of user experience that we've noticed. So building initiatives like this is definitely something we have prioritized. Now, I mentioned like everything IBC related. So this is like the transport layer that we have. And this is sort of the application layer that we're calling the Composable XCVM. It might be rebranded in the near future, so you might hear it differently. So what this does is essentially, you could think of it as an extension of interchain accounts. So interchain accounts allows Cosmos chains to manage your funds on another account on a Cosmos chain. So to actually do that with parachains, with non-Cosmos chains, we built this XCVM. This is sort of a user flow example where somebody provides liquidity on our DEX on Pablo, and this is all via one transaction, like via one interface. They LP on Pablo, and then their funds get bridged to Mars protocol deployed on Osmosis, and then if they want the funds on Ethereum, it also gets transferred to Ethereum. And the end goal is to make this like improve user experience. So this can all be done via XCVM messaging. This is sort of a bit more information about it. So one thing that's also important to know is that it's not just Polkadot that we're doing this for. We're doing this for non-EVM chains as well, like EVM chains as well. So Solidity and Ethereum right now, like the space is still very fragmented. We haven't seen a lot of cross-chain activity between the L1s and L2s. So we have like applications deployed on multiple networks. Like let's say Aave is deployed on Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, a lot of the other layer 2s. But with their V3 portals, which isn't live yet, it wouldn't allow you to sort of deposit your funds on Ethereum and take out the loan on Optimism. You would have to manually bridge and then take them out. So what the XCVM would do is sort of send a message from one chain to the other, and that would allow you to sort of do cross-chain lending in a trustless manner. So Ethereum is a big part of our roadmap for IBC, and this is what we're relying on. So once we connect Ethereum, we can also do this between Cosmos chains, Polkadot chains, as the previous example showed. So we're also implementing a Cosmosm VM on Picasso. So as I mentioned, the XCVM sort of handles like, it's sort of like a VM aggregator. So to actually build a VM on our chain in Kusama, right now there's only an Ink VM, which we're not really fans of. There's also the EVM, which we're also not really fans of. And we realized that Composable was the best framework for actually building cross-chain smart contracts. So previously, Confio's implementation was written half in Rust and half in Go. So we had to fully implement it in Substrate to support parachains. And this works really well with our parachains as well, because the Composable contracts are Rust and our parachains are Rust as well. So it works really well. One thing that it allows it to do is existing Composable projects on Cosmos can deploy outposts to our chain as well. So this would give you guys basically a new ecosystem of users and infrastructure that you can build on. So speaking to some teams right now, contracts are being tested on our testnet. So it's live actually on our chain, but it's not deployed into production. We hope to actually get this done this month as well. So keep an eye out on that. So this is sort of the initiatives that we're building for the XCVM. So the Composable SDK is sort of like a Rust SDK as well, because we're supporting NEAR for IBC. We want Rust smart contracts to be supported, so you can do composability between NEAR, Cosmos as well. Then the Solidity SDK, as I mentioned, this would allow protocols on Ethereum and layer 2s on Ethereum to do cross-chain functionality. We have XCVM.js, so this would allow you to deploy XCVM contracts in the front end. A cross-chain name service. This is something that we definitely think is important for the space. Essentially having one sort of name service that can connect to all chains. This is definitely going to be a hurdle, but we are working on that as well. The Block Explorer, so this is something I shared a screenshot about earlier, and a stepper and transaction visualization. So these two are sort of what we're doing to improve user experience on the Polkadot side. So that's something that's been lacking. There is a tough challenge, because in Cosmos and then Ethereum, if we're doing an XCVM transaction between 3 different chains, we want the user to see sort of the flow go from like their funds being transferred from Picasso to Osmosis and then to Ethereum. We want that all to be shown. So like, I'll give you an example. So like with this, right? Once a user submits this transaction, we want the user to see their tokens being LP'd into a liquidity pool on Pablo. So that will be shown on the visualization. We want them to see the funds being transferred to Osmosis and then taken out a loan on Mars and then bridged to Ethereum. So we want this to be shown in the front end. These are sort of the challenges that we are tackling. Now, if you weren't at Cosmoverse, we did release a demo of the XCVM. I don't have one for you today, but I'll sort of give an overview of what happened. We've done this all on chain on a local network. So if a user had Pika, which is our native token on Picasso, and they wanted to swap it for USDC. So if USDC was only available on Juno, this is all via one XCVM transaction. The Pika is being sent via IBC to a TerraSwap contract that we deployed on Juno. So the Pika is being sent to Juno, it's swapped for USDC, and then it's spawned back onto Picasso, the origin chain. And this is all done via one transaction. So if you were to do that manually without XCVM, you'd have to bridge your Pika, that's one step, and then make the swap, that's another step, and then send the funds back, that's another step as well. So it's basically simplifying the user experience as a whole. This is like the end goal, right? So like the dawn of the super app thesis. If we want users to, like everybody uses that example of you want your grandparents to use blockchain, right? So an AI-powered super app where you can just go in and you could say, I want to swap from Pika and Atom to 45 USDC. That's definitely not the correct price. It's just an example. But yeah, the end goal is to allow users to sort of do functionality in this way, where I'm going in, similar to like how you go in ChatGPT. A lot of people do that for their work. That's the end goal. So the super app thesis is something that we want to go and sort of capture with the XCVM. So it's all about abstracting the user complexities and also increasing the ease of developer experience. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I imagine for something like that, there can be many paths to the result, no? So who gets to decide which path to take?
Are you talking about this slide?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Also the previous one, no? There could be different chains having the same asset.
yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing is we're building something called the routing layer. So this would be sort of looking for the best execution for any function that you want to do. So let's say you have 50 Atom and you want to get the best rate across any DEX. So we're looking to build the routing layer in a way where it taps into, via APIs, the prices that these DEXs are listing at, and then it could basically take the best price for you and bring it back.
So it's similar to the merge problem that I were talking before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very simple. So we're actually working with Skip and Mechatech to sort of tackle this as well. The Zenith model is definitely something we're planning to implement with the hyperspace relayer. So that would allow like block builders to not sort of, I wouldn't say, how should I frame it? I have an example. Let me see if I can bring it up. I can show you after what I mean, but we released a whole blog about how we are working with Mechatech to build out hyperspace relayer. But yeah, cross-chain MEV, this would definitely play a role in this user flow. Any more questions?
Aren't centralized exchanges working on something similar? Because they are already connected to many chains, no? And they have infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely, they are. And then, like, you know, FTX is a centralized exchange that everybody used to bridge, and we sort of want to keep everything decentralized on DEXs. So we're trying to move away from the centralized exchange route for users. Like the KSM dot pair is a simple example. Like to actually get a liquidity pool paired with both, like you can go to a centralized exchange and easily get both assets. But right now we have this DEX live where you can get both of those assets directly in a decentralized manner.
Oh, of course, but for example, if it's just for the single swap, no? That can happen in less than a second. I'm not so sure that something like this is more secure than using, for example, Binance API.
It's the whole thing about
if it's settled.
Yeah, I understand, but like if we want to live in a completely decentralized world, we can't rely on centralized exchanges. And FTX was the perfect example.
The definition of centralized and decentralized is...
Yeah, I know.
Because Binance, for example, Binance, I'm saying Binance because it's just probably the biggest, no? Could say, no, we have very big decentralized infrastructure that does the same. Because here, if it's just one possible route, it's, I mean, of course, there are many nodes, validators behind this, but it's still one route, but like an atomic swap. No?
Yeah, but then you also have to KYC to the exchange, you know, so it's there's still that like decentralized hurdle that we're trying to, like that's the whole goal of choosing IBC. Like IBC isn't something that, like we had to lift a lot of heavy weight to actually get this possible, and we have it live between our two chains. But the whole reason why we chose IBC is because it was necessary. It was the only framework out there to bridge in a trust minimized manner.
Can I ask one question? Maybe I missed something. Could you go back to your slide where you showed like a Cosmos chain speaking to a Kata chain?
Yeah.
With like the wasn't client and Plasma?
This one.
Yeah, so Picasso blockchain and Centauri. So Picasso has like Tenement and IBC RS. What I didn't understand is why you need this in between Centauri chain. Like, why couldn't the packet forwarding middleware Azam and Grandpa just live on Picasso?
So that was the whole thing about upgrading to Cosmos SDK 0.47. So that upgrade includes the Wasm client. So right now, like I don't think any Cosmos chain is on 0.47 yet. Like when I was speaking to teams earlier this year, like we could have actually launched earlier this year this connection, but speaking to Cosmos teams, none of them could actually support us directly until they upgrade their SDK version. So this was sort of an adapter chain that we built, and it won't only be used for it would also be used for packet forwarding, but to actually bridge to Ethereum, we're going to be using a Tenement-based chain, and this is going to be the chain that we use. So it's not simply used for packet forwarding between Picasso and Cosmos, because once chains upgrade to 0.47, we're definitely going to change to a direct connection. But it will still power like IBC activity between Ethereum, NEAR, and other chains that we connect to. There's actually also other like standalone L1 chains that we've been speaking to. I don't think they definitely haven't announced that they're going to be connecting to IBC yet. I don't think I can mention their names, that's why. You'll be surprised with what names come out and start supporting IBC this year. But they're also using the Wasm client, so they might use this chain as an adapter as well. But yeah, shout out to Notional for helping us get this chain up. All right, I think that's it, Saz. Thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it.